Welcome to my environmental game audio demonstration, where I'll show examples of audio implementation within Unity. In this video, I'll demonstrate how I use game sounds to improve the player's immersion in the game environment. All of these sounds will be diegetic, meaning it will be heard throughout the game world from a first-person character perspective. It is also important to note that this video demonstrates audio implementation directly in Unity, and not through a middleware application. I will demonstrate how I use Fmod Studio for game audio in future videos. Firstly, we can break these sounds down into separate elements: 3D ambient loops and triggered one-shots. This is an asset on the Unity store called Cyberroom, and I chose this project to demonstrate how 3D ambient loops can create an immersive environment for the player. These sounds are all ambient loops that are connected to 3D objects in the game's world. Since the player won't be able to hear these sounds until they are a certain distance away, it is crucial to customize each 3D sound so that it accurately represents perceived loudness and distance attenuation. This next environment is a fantasy forest asset. I chose this scene to capture both 3D loops and triggered 2D one-shots. There are 3 zones I use for triggering sounds. Here, I added a wood creaking effect when the player passes the bridge, frog sounds by the river, and lastly there is a crow sound once the player enters the orchard. As you just heard, the crow seems like it moved in the 3D space, but it was actually a 2D sound with a stereo panning effect. This means that it played regardless of the player's orientation, which is only useful in some cases. If we want to trigger a sound that plays at a specific location in the environment, we must use a 3D audio source. In this next example, I will share how I use this method of 3D triggers. When the player reaches the map's edge, a distant bird sound can be heard. Distant thunder begins to play as soon as the player ascends to the top level. Combining all of these methods of implementation creates a dynamic audio experience for the player and is a great starting point for adding sounds directly into Unity. In my next video, I will show how I use Fmod Studio to improve the responsiveness and variation of sounds within a game.